Mr. Clean was previously employed as a window cleaner. Mr. Clean always had entrepreneurial spirit and is always on the lookout for new opportunities. An opportunity presented itself when Mr. Clean's previous employer started to downsize his business due to health reasons. Mr. Clean embraced the opportunity and offered window cleaning contracts to some of the clients that could not be serviced by his previous employer. Bright and Shine Pty Limited was incorporated on 1 April 2014 by Mr. Clean. Look at the date, very important. BNS sells window cleaning products and provides window cleaning services. Mr. Clean has just drafted the annual financial statements for the year ended 31 December 2015 and provided you with the following information. So it started with business on the 1st of April. Clearly the year end is 31 December. So for the 2014 year, it was from the 1st of April up to the end of December. So statement of profit or loss for the year ended 31 December 2015 Rand, of 2014. Sales, cost of sales, gross profit, income from window cleaning services, dividends received, depreciation on vehicles, admin expenses, wages and salaries, other expenses, investment income, finance charges, profit before tax, income tax expense, and then profit for the year. Then at the end of the day, remember always at the back of your mind, write an email to Mr. Clean in which you advise him on the correct treatment, presentation and disclosure of the above statement of profit or loss for the year ended 31 December 2015 in order to comply with the requirements of IS 1. No advice in relation to accounting policies is required. Great stuff. Additional information. 80% of the revenue from the sales of goods and 70% of the revenue from window cleaning services are from one customer, Lomax Limited, a platinum company. On 1 December 2015, Lomax announced that it will be shutting its doors and that the company will be liquidated within the next 12 months. It is unsure whether BNS would be able to obtain enough clients to replace the revenue from Lomax. Included in the administration expenses of 40,000 Rand is an expense of 8,000 Rand that relates to the insurance policy of BNS. The payment of 8,000 Rand was made on 1 July 2015, paid in advance for the annual insurance premium up to 30 June 2016. The vehicles are used for the delivery of products to customers. Okay, well, we have to write an email, so you could start off with writing the email. Remember, if you have to write an email, you must address it to somebody, it must come from somebody, there must be a subject matter, and there must be a date. Those 4 things must be on top of your email. Great, now let's start here. I hope that you have started and identified a lot of mistakes just by reading through the whole thing. And here when we have the financial statements, the first thing that comes to mind is that the name of the entity does not appear here as a line item. Bright and Shine Pty Limited should have been there presented as a line item. Now, 2015 is for 12 months. So there should have been a clear distinction or a clear indication that 2014 was just for a 9-month period, as we already identified. So here on top of 2015, you would have said 12 months to 31 December 2015 Rand. There's no indication of the currency. 2014, on top of that column, you would have indicated 9 months to 31 December 2014 and then Rand. But if I look at these figures, I mean, what is the chances of income tax being 14 Rand and 5 Rand? And sales 1,050 and 760 Rand. It is a cool round 0. So therefore, obviously, it is not only Rand that should be indicated there, not only the currency, but also the rounding. And the rounding is definitely not to the nearest Rand. So I would think that is probably thousands, so R 3 zeros apostrophe S. And then that's that side as well. Now sales, here they tell us that 80% of the revenue of sales And then the other income stream, income from window cleaning services, 70% of that is all from one customer, Lomax. And Lomax has already shut these stores and has already indicated that they will be liquidated in the next 12 months. So there's no turnaround for Lomax. And that is a serious impact that the closing of doors of Lomax is going to have on the business activities of B&S. So although it is maybe not the only client, but by far the major client of this entity, it is not necessary for B&S to prepare its statements on a liquidation basis, but what it has to do for sure is to disclose the fact that he has one client which makes up 80% of the revenue of sales and 70% of the revenue out of the window cleaning services, which is in the process of liquidation, and it will have a serious effect on the company's results going forward. So the fact must be mentioned by ways of a note to the financial statements, although it's not necessary to restate his figures to liquidation values. Then included in admin expenses is an expense of R8,000 being our insurance, which was paid up to 30 June 2016. So clearly 6 months was paid in advance. So the accrual principle in accounting dictates that only that portion of the expense that belongs to the current financial period should be recognized in expense. So R4,000 should have been shown as accrued expenses under current assets and should not have been included in administration expenses. So there must be rectification of that mistake. Then here we have somewhere along the line depreciation. Depreciation on the vehicles, and they tell us the depreciation is used for deliveries to our customers. Now let's just start here at the top of our income statement. We do not call it sales anymore, we call it revenue according to IAS 1. So I shouldn't have mentioned the word sales, it should have been replaced with revenue. Cost of sales is fine, gross profit is fine. Now income from window cleaning services and dividends received should have been grouped together as other income. So I would have had a line item in my income statement, other income, and those two figures should have been added together and shown as other income. Now clearly he tried to make some kind of attempt of dividing his expenses or showing his expenses according to the function of expenses method, but he was not very successful. Now under the function of expenses method, I should have selling and distribution expenses, administration expenses, other expenses. And then I should show finance charges, which is fine, and investment income I should also show separately, so that is fine. And then profit before tax should be shown separately, which is fine, income tax expense fine, and profit for the year is fine. So that depreciation on the vehicles should have been shown as part of selling and distribution expenses, which he didn't mention here at all. Now admin expenses, okay, let's just park that one for a moment. Wages and salaries. Now, there is no separate line item when we are going to distinguish our expenses according to the function of expenses method, that we will have wages and salaries on the face of the income statement. That wages and salaries must be split between admin, selling and distribution, and other. And those expenses, that salaries and wages, as per category should have been included in selling and distribution, administration, and other expenses. So that must be split out, and that is not a separate line item on the face of the income statement. Good, and that is investment income, and I think that is probably the major problems in this whole question. Let's quickly have a look at the answer. This is the email that we're going to write. So it is from the student to Mr. Clean, as at the date, and the subject is financial statements of Bright and Shine Pty Limited. The name of the entity is not indicated. We've seen that. The amounts are obviously rounded to the nearest 1,000 rands, but no indication of rounding or currency is given. The comparative figures are indicated, but it's only for 9 months. So it is not comparable. An indication of the difference in period should have been made. Now, the information is inconsistent, 1 year versus 9 months. We should mention that, and the reason for that should have been discussed. I mean, they have a 100% valid reason. The company only came into existence on 1 April of the previous year. So it is impossible to have 12 months comparative figures because it was only in existence for 9 months. Now, a financial statement should be prepared on the assumption that it is going to be a going concern, and then Lomax, which contributes a major part, will have an adverse effect, and the loss will have a material impact on the future financial performance of the company, and it will have an impact on the decisions of shareholders as well as other people, so it needs to be disclosed. This is the insurance story, but it's all about the accrual period of principal. So we say that only the 2015 portion should be included in the current year's figures. And then in accordance with IS1, information statement profit should be disclosed according to the function or nature of the expense. In order to achieve that, depreciation should be shown under distribution costs. Wages and salaries should be included under admin, distribution, and other expenses. Dividends received is other income, and other expenses should rather be classified as either admin, distribution, or operating expenses. So if I have other, it must be other operating expenses. And then this one we didn't mention, which is very true. Notes should be disclosed in order to present a better understanding of the items included in the statement of comprehensive income. And that is this one. Oh my goodness. Net die sê ek praat hier sonder nog my gat af. Och my fok.